This is Jim Williams with the Hurricane City Tropical Update video for July 9th, 1 p.m. Here's a map of Hurricane Dennis from the 2005 hurricane season, and on this date it was ready to make landfall in Cienfuegos, Cuba as a major hurricane. It would cross near Havana, head out into the eastern Gulf of Mexico, and make landfall in the western Florida Panhandle on July 11th as a major hurricane. Luckily, nothing like that is going on right now because this would be a very bad situation for the Deepwater Horizon spill scene, as all the vessels would have to leave the area and they'd have to shut everything down until the storm passed, not to mention the amount of oil that would end up on all the beaches in Florida, Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana. So this would be a very bad track, and luckily nothing like that is going on right now. And just to let you know, that was the D-named storm. We were 3 storms ahead of where we are right now. We've only had one named storm this hurricane season. We almost had Tropical Depression number 2 become Bonnie, and that did not happen, so we are still ahead of the 2004 hurricane season, however, where we had our first named storm at the end of July. So what's going on out there right now? Let's take a look at a water vapor loop from NOAA, and we can see a lot of swirls out there. There's 3 areas of disturbed weather in the Caribbean Sea, and we just had Tropical Depression number 2 make landfall in Mexico, still dumping rain there. And we have an upper level feature off the coast of North Carolina. Let's go ahead and talk about each one of these. This is primarily in the upper levels. I'll show you a upper level map in just a minute. Pressures are not falling very much. Winds are not real high here. We have a trough coming across that's going to grab this low and take it right up the coast and out to sea. So this is not going to develop into anything tropically. We have a big upper level low cutoff out here that's causing westerly wind shear throughout the basin, eastern basin, which is unfavorable. And we have 3 tropical waves. One here, that's going to go into the Pacific. We have another one near Venezuela that's also going to head that general direction. And then we have another one near the Windward Islands down here that may be something to watch down the road. The European model wants to develop that in the western Caribbean Sea, heading towards Honduras and Belize, just like the other 2 systems we had. So far, all the activity has been in the southwestern Caribbean Sea and the western Gulf of Mexico. So this should be no different with this system out here, but it's not going to develop into anything rapidly because it's going to be interacting with land the whole time until it gets into the western Caribbean Sea. Again, TD number 2 moved inland, and that's about it. The tropics are quiet at this time. And as you can see, there are no active storms. That's from the tracking chart on the front page of Hurricane City. We've left up our current feature, which is Brownsville, Texas, that was affected by Tropical Depression number 2, but things are quiet out there. All right, here's the upper level wind shear from the University of Wisconsin, and you can see that when you say upper levels, here we are. We can clearly see the upper level environment of this upper low here off the Carolinas, and not at the surface, and again, the pressures are not falling. We have upper level wind shear through the northern Gulf here, 30, 40 knots in the western Gulf of Mexico. That's unfavorable. And we have 30 knots of shear slicing right through the heart of the Caribbean here, so that's not allowing these waves to develop. They're down far enough south away from the shear zone, but they're interacting with land, and they're going to head in the general direction of the Pacific. So nothing's going to develop in the Caribbean over the next several days anyways. And again, here's our big upper level low cutoff out here that's sending wind shear throughout the Atlantic Basin. Now here is the upper level winds. These are the steering current winds and everything, and you can again see that this is primarily in the upper levels. This is around 35,000 feet up in the atmosphere, and you can see our low here. So it's a mid to upper level low. It's not at the surface, and again, the steering flow would indicate that this is going to cruise up the coast here and then out into the Atlantic. So this is not going to be a threat to develop in anything tropically. And you can see we have a pretty fast steering flow here, around 20 knots forward speed through the southern Caribbean Sea. That's a very strong steering flow that would take a lot of these storms into the Pacific. Here's the dry air. This is the dry African dust, the SAL, Saharan air layer. This red area here is all dry African dust, and that squashes tropical waves as they come off the coast of Africa. And you can see they come off here, they look real good, and then they get pushed to the south by the Azores High and wrapped in with all this red dry air, which does not allow development of tropical systems until they get into the western basin. You know, this was a very similar pattern in the 2005 hurricane season, where systems waited until they got past like 55 or 60 west before they started developing. And here are the pressures in the Atlantic Basin. I touched on this on the last update. All the purple, aqua, blue areas are all lower than normal sea surface pressures, and that indicates warmer than normal sea surface temperatures, as well as the potential for rather large, powerful hurricanes for the remainder of the hurricane season. So we need to keep an eye on the pressures out here. They're lower than normal. All right, they continue working on the oil spill out in the Gulf of Mexico. The seas are calming down. The skimming operations have resumed, and there's about 20 vessels out there working out there. And again, that live feed at Hurricane City, hurricanecity.tv, will have the oil cams up throughout the day and certain beach cams and stuff like that, as well as radio or anything from the affected areas regarding the oil spill. So check that out whenever you get a chance, hurricanecity.tv. The tropics are quiet. I'll be back in a few more days. If we have some new development, I'll be back with more tropical update videos. Thank you again for visiting Hurricane City.